Hello, me again. I've got a bit more direction now. Thanks for the input over the last couple of days. I think I've got a few things sorted out. First thing, somebody's got in contact with me from via Vimeo to say that they have not been able to get on to Over the Peak at all lately. I can't imagine what that is. I'm just not technologically up to know what it could be. Viewing figures have gone down, but I presume that was because I've been waffling on too much. And on that, I'll try and keep everything down to about 10 minutes for what were the old world economic news videos. And if I want to go into an in-depth on something, I'll probably put it in a separate video and label it as such. So that's probably a good idea. Lyle has given me the main impetus and drive and direction. Of all of you out there, I would think Lyle's the one that understands me the most, and accidentally he's put me in the right direction, I think. First I'll do first to say that as long as the most input from Over the Peak is it's predominantly me, I don't have the time or the technology to really do a website, so I'll just keep going with it as it is at the moment until something else might change. But I'll try and keep the videos more for Lyle, who's among other things in his life a businessman, and he wants to know what's going on in the world because his business touches different parts of the world, and he wants to know about what's going on in the world. So I'll try and keep the World Economic News videos as they were, as information about what's going on in the world, and that's it. And then if, as I say, if I go into in-depths, I'll probably put them aside in a different video. That seems sensible. So people can choose whether they need to want to go in-depth or just get the economic news or world news. Right, and as I say, I'm not up to the technology to do anything new and fancy. I can only just about handle the technology I've got here. Like I'm looking at the volume on the microphone. I'm still struggling to get the microphone to do the right volume, and it doesn't look like it's doing it correctly now at the moment. But still, I'll push on because I've got ways of doing that. Right. Of the so I'll do a presentation which is not quite world economic news, but it is just about, but it kind of links to where we've been in the last couple of days. Bethany McLean, I forget where she's writing this from. I think she normally writes for The Atlantic or Vanity Fair or one of those. She's not absolutely loved in the journalistic world, Bethany McLean. But this is an interesting article, The Meltdown Explanation That Melts Away. I'll give you these first couple of paragraphs because I think it's quite important to explain a lot of things. Although our understanding of what instigated the 2008 global financial crisis remains at best incomplete, there are a few widely agreed upon contributing factors. One of them is the 2004 rule change by the US Securities and Exchange Commission that allowed investment banks to load up on leverage. You know, Paulson went in and pleaded for this extra leverage for the Wall Street because London were being able to do it, etc. This disastrous decision has been cited by a host of prominent economists, including just about everybody, basically. Read the article. It's basically just not true. And this is more to say, don't worry about it not being true. There are so many things that are accepted out there, even by skeptical people, that we don't have time to really dig in and find out whether they're right or not. We accept them as right. And this is how things go in the world. How Bethany probably took a month out to dig into this as an investigative reporter and find out what a lot of this stuff, right down at the bottom, Academy Award-winning film inside job quotes, is wrong. But we just don't have the time to dig up all these wrongnesses. All we need to keep in our mind is don't be grabbed onto anything, because the chances of us knowing the truth is very small indeed. Okay, moving on. New economic perspectives, the Jobs Act. Now, this is really written by William K. Black, but he's got Pontel and Geese writing it with him. And I've read 3, 4, 5 other reports on this Jobs Act that should have, I think, I haven't checked whether it's gone through completely, but it is going to go through. And the title gives it, the Jobs Act is so criminogenic that it guarantees full-time jobs for criminologists. Highlighted at the bottom, this bill is an atrocity. Read the rest of the article, find other articles. What I think we have here is Wall Street saying to Obama, look, how much money have you raised for this presidential campaign? Not much at the moment. No, I didn't think you had. If you want some Wall Street money, first pass this act, and then we'll see. So this Wall Street More Bonuses Act goes through, sails through, and then they'll go and demand more off Obama. Because the whole stupid American system is thoroughly broken. Will the Supreme Court turn Citizens United over? It could. There's about a 10-20% chance. But basically, the United States doesn't stand a chance in any sort of reasonable world unless Citizens United is overturned. Because we know the government generally, it's been ramping up as being more and more and more bought. But things like this are just so obvious that I can sit here and say it's obvious and actually imagine that I'm right. It's pathetic. Right. Other pathetic things. The Telegraph. North America has the potential to be Energy World's next Middle East report argues. North America's energy sector has the potential to drive a remarkable resurgence that could see the continent become the new Middle East in shaping the global supply of gas and oil, a new report has claimed. Which they won't have read, of course, to write this article. The Telegraph's a reasonable newspaper. They won't have read the report. And even if they had, this will be the City from Citigroup. If they had read it, they wouldn't have the understanding to analyse it, because this wasn't written by their energy reporter. We know who their energy reporter is. It's Popsy, who wouldn't, she'll be learning it now, but she hasn't got the experience to know that City are talking utter crap. Moving on. Telegraph again, number 4. Saudi Arabia sends tankers to the US with a pledge to bring down oil prices. Saudi Arabia has pledged to take action to lower the high price of oil, which has risen to around $125 a barrel, with laden supertankers set to arrive in the US in the coming weeks. Now, this is apparently fact. They've hired 11 ultra-large tankers, 2 million barrels each, so about 22 million barrels arriving in the US. Very nice. No, it's more than that. Got my decimal points in the wrong place, but that's basically it. But it's all meant to change everything, and it's obviously a political agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia, probably with something to do with Iran and Syria in there that we'll never know about. But what's the United States oil refineries meant to do with 11 supertankers of Saudi horrible crude? I bet there are loads of refiners going, what the fuck? Anyway, they'll be able to do something with it, I'm sure. Pour it into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, no doubt. Middle East, so this is the Financial Times having a go at it. Saudi Arabia moves to calm the oil markets. Saudi Arabia is taking steps to cool the overheating global energy market, boosting exports to the US, because normally it doesn't export this much to the US. Saudi Arabia just doesn't export normally to the US. Most of its stuff goes east. and reopening old oil fields to expand production. That oil out of Daman, they're opening Daman up again. They closed it down in the 80s. They will get more oil out of there, but it shows the desperation. Expand production as the world's largest oil producer. It's not. Russia is. Tries to prevent damage to the global economic recovery. The Saudi cabinet on Monday said the kingdom would work individually and with others to return oil prices to fair levels. Riyadh recently said it aimed to keep oil prices at $100. 3 years ago, the cabinet, that's a joke as well, said they were going to aim to keep the price at $60. There's just so much crap. US politics and policy. Obama signals support for the oil pipeline. There's a picture of him at Cushing saying, oh, blah, 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 and let's go with the southern stage of the oil, the Cushing pipeline. That's got nothing to do with him anyway. It was always going to go through. The northern part up to Canada, now that's different, but who's going to actually look into it so they know the difference between the northern one that Obama has kind of vetoed and the southern one that was going to go ahead anyway? Now Obama's trying to get money in from the oil people by saying, I'll let the southern one go through, when they know all very well that he couldn't have stopped it anyway. Next, number 7, crude drops after Saudi intervention. Hurrah! Oil prices fell more than $2 a barrel on the back of attempts by Saudi Arabia to cool energy markets, etc., etc. Number 8, Brent crude oil spot prices. What did I grab this for? 1 month, I think. This is 1 month of Brent crude oil spot prices up to the present day. Yes, finished Friday. What do you think of that chart? All the hoo-ha that we've had, in the last 7-10 days? Saudi Arabia and the president, and they're going to have commissions to have a look in the United States whether the SEC should find if Wall Street are rigging the price. Well, that's done a lot of stuffing good, hasn't it? 122 at the bottom of the tram line, 128, and it's just moving between 122 and 128. You can say that from March the 13th to the end of the week, it came down from 128 to 124. But that's where it was anyway. Financial Times again. In the global economy, soaring oil prices. Risk recession. This is the IEA, Fatty Birol. The cost of oil imports for the leading economies will surge to $1.5 trillion this year, $1 trillion, if crude oil prices stay at their current levels, a figure large enough to tip the world back into recession, the IEA warned on Friday. Almost no doubt. The US is in a very good position. But it's only in a good position compared to places like Europe and Japan. For running the United States as it runs now, the United States, even with its new gas, we know it's got coal and it's got a certain amount of oil, is in no way capable of running the United States like it runs now. But compared, as I say, to Europe and Japan, it's in Jolly Street. Wonderful. Right. I'll leave you with this and you can pause and look at it. World per capita energy consumption in gigajoules per capita from 1820. See if anything jumps out at you. The thing that jumps out at me is you've got oil in green. That hasn't changed. It goes up at the end, but it only goes up at the end because below it, the red thing is coal. It's coal that is being burnt in the last decade per capita to give the energy for the world. It's coal that's doing it. Not oil. There's a bit more natural gas, but it's coal. And how are we meant to know about man-made global warming? I'm not going to go into that one. I totally admit defeat. I had no idea. And even if we did have the idea and really knew that it was a real facty fact and it was being caused by coal, what would they do about it? When in the last decade it's coal that it is giving per capita the people of the world the energy that they want. What would happen? Nothing would happen. The people of the world would demand the energy that they want. There's a generation after generation mindset that needs to change, if that's going to change. And that's not going to change because we're not going to change. Unless we goddamn have to. And I think we're going to goddamn have to. Bye.